from Missouri.
I want to thank Senator Durbin for his incredible leadership on this issue. It's truly a privilege to partner with him on this effort. And I just want to say, Mr. President, that the premise of this bill is very simple. It is simply this, that our children are not safe online. And I know that because the statistics tell the story. Just looking at the number of reports of child sex abuse material online the last year for which we have full data, the number of images, sexually abusive images reported online surged to 104 million. Think about that. 104 million reported sexually abusive images. That is up from nearly 450,000 as early as 2004. In the space of 20 years, we have seen an explosion of sexual abuse material online. The data does not lie. Our children are not safe, but I also know it because whistleblowers tell us. The experts from these companies tell us the truth. I'll never forget sitting in the Senate Judiciary Committee and listening to whistleblowers from Meta talk about the steps their company had taken to target their products towards children. And I asked one of these whistleblowers, how many kids who come to your platform would you estimate are exposed to child sex abuse material? She thought for a moment, and then she said, I would say 100%. I said, wait a minute, 100%, 100%? She said, every child who gets on a Meta platform, whether it's virtual reality, whether it is Instagram, whether it is Facebook itself, every child who is on that platform for any length of time will be exposed to child sex abuse material. Every single child. The tech companies themselves tell us. But I also know our kids aren't safe online because I'm a father of 3 children. My oldest is 13 now. I've got a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. And my kids don't have devices or they don't have phones, and I'm going to keep it that way as long as I possibly can. But I tell you what, my wife and I every day worry about what our children will be exposed to online. And I have listened to parent after parent come before this body, take an oath and testify about the ordeals their own children have been through. Another employee at Meta testified about his own child, a daughter, who signed up for an Instagram account and almost immediately was bombarded by predators and sex abusers, looking at her images, direct messaging her, soliciting her for various sexual acts. It caused him to ask himself, what are we doing at these tech companies? Is there no amount of decency? Is there no respect for the basic privacy and security of children? Our children are not safe online. And Mr. President, I also want to say that this bill is based on another important principle, a simple one, which is that no amount of corporate profits justifies the exploitation of our children. All the big tech companies are rich beyond belief. They are the wealthiest companies, the richest, biggest companies, not just in America, not just in the world, but in the history of the world. But I just want to say that no amount of money justifies subjecting our children to sexual abuse. No amount of money justifies sextortion of children on these platforms. I don't care what Facebook's market cap is today or tomorrow. I don't care how much money Google makes next quarter. It does not justify the degradation of American children. Not now, not ever. And this body has a moral obligation to stand for that principle and to vindicate it for every parent and every child in America. It is why we are here. It is our obligation and our responsibility, and that's what this bill does. This is a very simple bill, as Senator Durbin described. It simply allows the victims of sex abuse material or their parents to get into court and to make their case against these companies. And it is not unfair to the companies. The companies are held to a very simple standard. Did they knowingly or recklessly host this content? Now, let me just say this. We all know that these companies will deploy algorithms to the end of the earth in order to target our kids, in order to advertise to our kids. They know every detail, every scintilla of action that occurs on their platforms. They know about it because they're making money off of it. And yet when we bring them before this body and put them under oath, the executives of these companies say, oh, we couldn't possibly get rid of all the CSAM, all the sex abuse material. We just don't have the technology for it. Oh, yes, they do. They do. But they don't want to root out the CSAM because they are making money on it, because sex material online drives engagement online, which drives more eyeballs online, which drives advertising dollars online, and that's what they care most about. Mr. President, it's time to give victims and parents the right that every other American has, which is to get into court and to have their day in court and to protect their children. This bill doesn't touch encryption. It doesn't destroy privacy rights. It protects all of those things. But above all, it protects children. It protects our children online, and it is long overdue. I'll just finish with this. I wish I could persuade my colleague, who I think will soon object, to agree with us on this, but I certainly respect his view. The scandal is not that 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 senators would take a different point of view. That's fine. The real scandal here is this bill cannot get a vote on the floor of this Senate. It passed unanimously, not once, but twice out of committee, unanimously out of the Judiciary Committee of the United States, and now for years in a row, it can't get so much as a vote on the floor of the Senate. That's why Senator Durbin is here today. That's why I'm here today. That is a scandal, Mr. President. It is absolutely indefensible. I haven't heard a word of explanation, but I know the reason. The reason is the big tech companies are opposed to it, and the reason for that is the big tech companies would lose money, and they will spend no amount of money. There'll be no limit to what they will spend to stop legislation they don't want from moving on this floor. It's time this body demonstrated its independence. It's time this body demonstrated our loyalty to the people who put us here, not the loyalty to the corporations who write the checks and call the shots and run the TV ads and make their threats and their campaign contributions. That's enough of that. It doesn't say we the corporations in our Constitution. It says we the people. And it's time for the people to have their say. It's time for this body to vindicate their rights. It's time for us to vote on this bill. With that, I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
The minority whip.
So in a few minutes, we've made the case. When a conservative Missouri Republican and a progressive Illinois Democrat can agree on a measure this important to the families of America, I think it's a unique message. How many times are we told back home, for God's sake, stop playing politics? If you must, compromise, but get something done. And certainly protecting our children is the highest possible priority. These measures, as Senator Hawley alluded to, passed unanimously out of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And trust me, the 20-plus members of that committee span the political spectrum. They all voted for these measures. That's why we bring them to the floor. And those who are following the debate, we're going to have a voice vote pretty soon, I assume. And the question's going to be, are we going to pass this or not? You're going to hear me make a motion, and then I believe the senator from Oregon is going to seek recognition. So I'll make the motion as to whether we should pass the measure we've just described. And here is the motion. As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of Calendar 106, S. 1829. Further, I ask unanimous consent that the committee reported substitute be considered and agreed to, and the bill as amended be considered and read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection?
Reserving the right to object.
The senator from Oregon.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I don't often disagree with my friend and longtime colleague from Illinois, and I very much share the stated goals of the Stop CSAM Act. Child sexual abuse material is a toxic plague on the internet. There are real victims who need support and criminals who have to be hunted down and locked up. I don't take a backseat to anybody when it comes to helping kids and punishing predators. Last Congress, Senator Durbin and I compromised on a different version of this bill and agreed to let that version pass by unanimous consent. Let me say that again. Last Congress, we reached agreement on a version of this bill that could have passed unanimously. Today, to my regret, the sponsors have chosen to abandon those negotiations. Instead, are seeking to advance what I consider to be a dangerous bill that would make internet users unsafe. That's because the bill would weaken the single strongest technology that protects kids and families online. That's strong encryption. It'll make it easier to punish sites that use encryption to secure private conversations and personal devices. While Stop CSAM sponsors claim that their bill does not target encryption, the bill explicitly allows courts to punish companies that offer strong encryption. It also would encourage scanning of content on users' phones or computers before information is sent over the internet, which has, in my view, the same consequences as breaking encryption. Weakening encryption and other security technologies is the single biggest gift that can be given to the predators and dangerous criminals who want to stalk and spy on kids. Sexual predators will have a far easier time stealing and extorting photographs of children, tracking their phones and spying on their private messages when encryption is breached. Doing so threatens the privacy and security of every single law-abiding Americans. Now, I heard some talk about who supports the bill. Let me tell you who supports the bill. It's big tech. Google and X have endorsed that. Let me repeat that. Google and X have endorsed this bill. It's the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and the American Civil Liberties Union who oppose it. So, this is really about who are you for. I'm here for women who depend on encryption to seek reproductive health care information. I'm here for journalists reporting on sensitive stories in places where their messages could be intercepted and used against them. I'm here for kids and teenagers seeking information about immigration laws as Donald Trump continues a brutal crackdown. The key to better protecting kids online is to do what is effective, not what only sounds effective. Congress ought to focus our energy on giving law enforcement officials the tools they need to find and prosecute criminals responsible for exploiting children and spreading vile abuse materials online, and to help prevent children from becoming victims in the first place. I repeatedly have given that support to prosecutors and law enforcement officials to do more to protect kids from being exploited. I remain open to revisiting conversations with the bill's sponsors to get back to a version that doesn't make the internet less safe. We did find a compromise in the last Congress, and I want to say to my longtime friend, Senator Durbin, my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, that I'm willing to work together to find another such compromise. I urge, for example, my colleagues to support my bipartisan Invest in Kids Safety Act, which I shortly will reintroduce. The bill would direct $5 billion in mandatory funding to do three things. One, give law enforcement agencies the tools and personnel they need to catch the predators who create and spread CSAM. Two, fund community-based programs to prevent at-risk kids from becoming victims in the first place. And three, invest in programs to support survivors of abuse. Any legislation that doesn't include those pieces is missing the point, and that is why I object today.